We'll be covering Aristophanes. The students have prepared several lines, quite a bit of Aristophanes, and today we'll be translating together. And I am the instructor, Dr. Joseph Tipton. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy what you see. Good, now we're on. So I believe I received everyone's homework, and no problems. It all looks uploaded to Populi without any problems. So any questions about the part you translated? Yeah, Luciane.
The enantion, I wasn't sure what that was doing. In line...
Yeah, what line?
576.
576. Oh, right. So that's more or less that's more or less adverbial, because as you know, when enantion is used as a preposition, it takes a genitive. Like enantion humon, in front of you all, we do this. But you see, it doesn't take any genitive, and rather you have humin, the dative, with memphomesta. And so it's more adverbially, like we having been wronged, blame you, lay it to your account directly.
Okay.
We're like, okay. This idea of directly. Good.
I had a little bit of trouble with the last sentence.
Okay.
Especially the medeni suno.
Yeah. Okay.
Do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, then it goes, engartis exodos. Engaretis exodos medinixun no. That, just sort of threw you in the deep end there. It's an idiom, and literally, what does it mean? Antigone?
Without any mind.
Like a public mind or something?
Yeah, without any mind. So if there is an exodus to you all, and an exodus here is what?
An expedition.
An expedition, right. So if the city is going out on a campaign, then medinix, literally with no mind, meaning if the city is going out on a campaign, that there's just an absolute idiotic idea. Is the sense there? If the city is undertaking
for no reason.
For no reason, that would work. So if you're going out on an expedition, Caleb.
Sorry, is it reason like there's not actually a good defense for it?
That's the idea I'm getting at. Exactly. You're going out on a senseless expedition. It's not justified, it's not warranted, and it's not even a good idea. It doesn't have a good prospect of success. Good.
I have a question.
Sure.
Under the poetry part, there seems to be some repetition of ideas, and I don't know if that's just a poetic thing, but...
You mean in the little lyric song?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In 571, Huper lampois actisin, and then the next line, tes hedon. The tes hedon.
Gays pedon.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so there.
I just wasn't sure whether to repeat that idea or just leave it translated as one idea.
Well, the ideas sound two to me. You say hos super lamprois actis in cateke geis pedon. So you have who holds the surface of the earth, or the tableland of the earth, or however you said it. Who holds the plane of the earth? Who sort of covers it with his illuminating beams.
Okay. I thought that Pedon also meant earth.
Yeah, okay, those two, Gates Pedon, yeah, that's redundant. That's just poetically redundant. So you have to say something like the plane of the earth, or the what did anybody else do? Did you think of anything?
The ground of the earth.
The ground of the earth.
Going down on the ground of the earth. The earth's floor.
The earth's floor. Very good. Very good. The earth's floor. Yeah, so, I mean, it would be enough. In prose, it would be enough to say gain or pedon. But here the poet says, geis pedon. And just gives you a little taste. So that is actually why I wanted y'all to translate that, and especially kind of by yourself. It's just so you can see how Greek lyric poetry runs, and that's it. It's sort of, the syntax is simple, but the poets try to evoke all this imagery and use a florid language that is befitting a quasi-religious setting, right? It's comedy, but it's still a religious setting. Good. All right, well, we can go on, and we're picking up at 581. So the first sentence is 3 lines. So any takers to read the first 3 lines and translate? Lucane, Karin soy oida.
Heinike reiste strategon, tas ofrusk synegomen, kapoumen dena fronte derag. Oh, did I miss one?
Yeah, you skipped a line. Okay.
Might be. Eta ton te oisin ektron ursodepsein.
Good.
Paflagona. Heinike reiste strategon, tas ofrusk synegomen, kapoumen dena fronte derage diastrapes.
Good. Good reading.
Then, sort of at that specific time, you chose the Paphlagonian Tanna, hated by the gods, as general.
Exactly. How do you get Heinika in there? First, let me throw this in. Greek has 2 thens. There's eta and there's tote. Now, eta is then subsequent, meaning subsequently, and then tote is your right at that moment. So your eta is given a second point. So just to set the context, it says they're talking about the Athenians' behavior. And as we were saying just a minute or 2 ago, they said whenever you take a senseless expedition, then we either thunder or we sprinkle. And as you probably saw in your notes, that was whenever the Greek assembly, the ecclesia, met to determine policy, to decide on war or whatnot. If rain came, even a little bit of rain came, it was considered to be a bad omen, and so they would call off the meeting immediately. They wouldn't decide anything. They would say, okay, meeting adjourned, let's all go home, we'll resume this some other time. And there's one place in, I think it's Aristophanes' Acharnians, when there's this character, the main character is in the assembly, and he sees the assembly going in a direction he doesn't like. And he says, he's trying to get them to stop, and they won't stop. Finally he yells out, Ranis me ebale. Ranis me ebale. And a ranis is a drop of rain, is a raindrop. And so he shouts out, a raindrop hit me, a raindrop hit me. And so they have to call off so he wants them, this plan sort of backfires on him, but he wants them to call off the whole proceeding because he sees them. And of course, this is parodying what Athenians were doing sometimes, these cheap tricks they would do. If they would see the assembly is about to make a decision that they don't want, somebody would make up this false reason for adjourning the meeting. And so that's what they're saying. It said, the clouds are saying, we have been helping you. We have been on your side. We look out for your interests. And we see, whenever we see you all making a bad decision, about to go out on a senseless expedition, we thunder and we sprinkle. And that's how nice they are. They don't rain, they just sprinkle. They just drop a few drops of rain to get them to stop the proceedings and just go home. And now he's given a second way in which they help the Athenians. And so your eta there is, and subsequently, and then now how would you get that heinika in there?
Just as when, because it's referring to the specific time.
There's your specific.
It's just then when you did this.
Exactly. And next, when you elected the Paphlagonian, hateful to the gods, who's a tanner. You can't keep on.
The tas ofrus xunegomen, sort of we drew together our eyebrows. Is that kind of like frowning?
Yeah, we furrowed our brows.
Okay.
So what he's saying is, we got angry.
Okay. Yeah.
That angered us, and we did the next line.
And then we did terrible things.
Yep.
Thunder sort of was broken through lightning.
Right. Thunder was broken through lightning. Or you can take this now in an intransitive middle sense. Thunder broke out.
Okay. Yeah.
Thunder through lightning broke out. And so, right, if they're about to do a senseless expedition, they sprinkle. When they saw them elect Cleon, and this is the Paphlagonian tanner. When we saw you elected Cleon, we really broke out in a thunderstorm, saying, "No, what are you thinking?" And in many of Aristophanes' plays, Cleon is called a tanner, and he's depicted as a real tanner, right? As somebody who's dealing with leather, who's treating leather, and who always smells horrible, and is always dyed dark because he's dealing with dyes. And it's just tanning is a messy work, is a gross work. But it's probably, we can probably rest assured, Cleon was not a tanner. Probably more likely he owned a lot of tanning businesses, and he made his fortune that way. So this guy's Cleon is more like an industrial titan, really. And he's wealthy, he's made money, but he's still depicted, but because he's made his money, it's sort of like in American history when you had the old money, and then the turn of the century, you had the Rockefellers and these other guys showing up who were making huge fortunes, but they were new. They were new men. They weren't old money. They were upstarts. Now they were filthy rich and much more wealthy than the old money, but they were upstarts, and they made their money with industry, right? So Carnegie, all the steel with Carnegie is like. Steel is not the most, from the perspective of the old aristocracy, it's not the most reputable thing. Cleon, in a similar way, was probably one of these industrialists who made a huge fortune through the tanning business, to the tanning industry, and now Aristophanes depicts him as a real tanner, sweaty with his big apron on and black and dyed up to his shoulders. So it's just comic. It's just comic parody. Good. Very good. Yeah, we broke out. When we saw you doing that, we really broke out in a storm. And just notice right there, you have that form, that first verb in the last line, kapoumen. You've seen this several times before, but I wanted to draw your attention to it formally, is that literally this epoumen is standing for epoi Umen. And that iota dropped out. And it's just an interesting, probably, I don't think Aristophanes could do this unless the Athenians were actually saying epoumen. So it might actually represent the way they were speaking, epoumen. Good. Next 3 lines. Danny? Daniele?
He Selene de excelepen tas hodus ho de helios ten trualid es
Good.
eoton eoteos sunel kusas hu finein ephasken humin e strategesoi kleon.
Good.
So the moon passed over the roads. The sun, having immediately drawn the wick into itself,
Yeah.
did not. I'm not totally sure how to take Ephuskin, but did not pretend to show us if Cleon would become general.
Good. Very good. Just 2 tweaks. But yeah, so first going back to He Selene dexele pentas hodus. The moon, you said, was passing over, but what's another way of taking eklepo? Luciane?
Sort of left its rotations, it left its track.
Left its tracks, right? The moon started behaving in an unusual way, right? The next night we expected the moon to do this, but it did something else. So the moon was...
I thought it was is illuminating the roads or something like that, but that makes way more sense.
Yeah. The moon started to be erratic, basically.
Is this like an eclipse?
I actually read once upon a time somebody talking about whether or not this is eclipse or not. The scholar landed on probably not, even though the word for eclipse is used, it probably just means it's acting erratically. Because I forget actually the reasoning. I can follow up on that, but yeah, I think his reason has something to do with the plural of hodoi. It's like if you expected an eclipse, you'd expect it to be one, and why do you have hodoi? So, but yeah, that's been suggested, karetion. So that's a conversation. Luciane?
Is Fanein there a future infinitive?
It is. Fanein is a future infinitive. So how do we do that now?
So is it not he, it's still the sun, isn't it? The sun is the subject.
Right.
The sun claimed or said that it would not shine on you.
Exactly.
It became general.
Exactly. That's how we do it. So, and the sun, having drawn, and since you have the article for wick, you're justified in saying its. The sun, having drawn its wick immediately into itself, said it would not shine. So there's your indirect speech. Ephuskin. So it's Ephuskin. It said. It was saying. And then remember, of course, in indirect speech, when the infinitive is used, if the subject of the infinitive is the same as the subject of the verb of saying, it does not need to. It is not repeated. So if you said, it said it would shine, then it's just Ephuskin fanein. It said it would shine. But here you have it denying it, and so it goes uk. Uk Ephuskin fanein. Good. It said it would not shine if Kleon went out as general. What form is a strategesoi? Karityon?
Optative, right?
What tense of the optative?
Is it indirect speech?
Yes, in indirect speech. Teophile?
Is it future?
Future optative. Here's the future optative. And this is mainly the only time you will see the future optative. Why? Because, as Karityon said, it's in indirect speech. So we have a conditional clause that's reported to us. So does anybody know what the direct what the original statement would have been. Like if the son had spoken and you want to quote what the son said directly, what did the son say?
Ufanumai ean strategese polteon.
Arista. Well, it's talking about we, so ufanumen.
Yep.
We want to shout ufanumen. So there's your apodosis. And then your protosis is a strategese. A strategese. So that's A with the future indicative. Now, ordinarily, you'd expect something like this. E ho kleon strategese. There's the protosis you expect. If kleon goes out as general, eon with the subjunctive, ufanumen. We won't shine. And that's it. And what kind of condition would that be? Future more vivid, future more likely. So you can have the same condition, you can have the same type of condition, ufanumen e kleon strategese, with the future indicative. And what kind of condition is that? I think we talked about it. Exactly. Here, this is your minatory. Minatory future condition. This is your minatory future condition. This is the condition. This is the way the Greeks used express future conditions. If they were being emphatic and almost stating, sort of a threat, right? If kleon will do this, if kleon goes out as general, we are not going to shine. And so it's more emphatic. Now this whole condition now is taken into the past tense after ephaskin. And so you can have ephaskin becomes, then the main clause becomes infinitive, and then that stays A, but then the future becomes future optative. Just so we know that that's actually, and it's in the optative because Aristophanes wants us to know that is the content of what the cloud said. Good. So remember that, future minatory.
You say this is the cloud speaking, not the sun itself speaking.
I mean the sun. Sorry. Yeah. Aristophanes wants you to know that this is what one of his characters is saying. This isn't actual speech. Good.
So, quick question.
Sure.
Just to make sure I'm tracking with that, I found a section in my old notes that says, oftentimes when in indirect speech, when the main verb is in the past, the optative is to emphasize the hearsay nature.
Right.
Is that what's going on?
Right. Just making it clear that this is what the son said.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Excellent.
I have another question real quick.
Sure.
582, why is it that hereste, they use the imperfect there?
Then it would be, yeah, you tell me.
It seems like, I kind of remember this from earlier in the play where it was using imperfect to sort of connote like a wish.
Yeah.
Like you would have.
Yeah, well,
chosen him.
not really would have. That sounds like future. That sounds like contrary to fact past. But just the idea of attempting. So often we can translate imperfects as with the word try or keep or continue. Try or keep or continue. And so that's what it looks like. And so there in that assembly meeting, you all, when you were trying, when you were disposed, when you were on the verge of electing the Paphlagonian general, this is what we did in order to interrupt the assembly, to interrupt the action, and stop it. Good. Good, yeah. Okay, so the next 3 lines, these are nice. All of these are breaking up in a nice Antigone.
Ala hopos heleste tuton fasigartus pulian tede te polinae tauta teus ata an humes examarte te epi to beltion trepen.
Good reading. Kalos anegnos.
Okay. But thus, you all chose or elected this one.
Exactly. Now your homos is nevertheless.
Oh, nevertheless.
Nevertheless, homos.
And then, Fasi, is that third person?
Yep.
It is, okay. Or he spoke ill counsel.
Well, third person plural.
Oh, plural.
Yeah.
Okay. They spoke
Yeah.
ill counsel. Thus, to add it to the city.
Okay, now remember, here's a good way of here's a good thing to remember. When you said they spoke ill counsel to add this to the city, that would then be a purpose infinitive, right? They did X to do something. Now, classical Greek generally doesn't use the infinitive in that way. So you have to say, okay, the infinitive is not usually used that way, so how else could this infinitive be used?
Well, it could be...
Especially after fasi.
Oh, they said that.
They said that.
Bad counsel was added to the city.
Good. They said that bad counsel was, you can say was added. This is tough to translate. Sometimes it's like it was a mark. It's a characteristic of the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a characteristic.
Right. For they say that bad counsel is sort of like belongs to this city. It belongs to this city as a characteristic.
It's typical of the city.
It's typical of the city. Good.
I see. And then this, I wasn't sure why tus teus is accusative.
It goes back to your fasi.
Oh, it goes back to fasi.
Yeah.
So.
So they say that bad counsel is the first subject of your first infinitive, and then tus teus is the second subject of your second infinitive.
Oh, I see. And that the gods.
Good.
If you had failed yourselves,
Yeah.
turn the better to a better thing.
Exactly. Return it to a better thing. Return it to a better state. That's exactly how it goes. So it says, for they say that bad counsel belongs to this city as a characteristic. Tauta mentoi. Mentoi is your strong adversative there. However, they say that the gods turn the things to the better. And so there's your hatan. Hatan humes examartete. And they say that however, they say that the gods turn whatever mistakes you make to the better. They bring it to a good outcome, despite the fact that you acted like idiots. The gods are helping you out. So this is the reputation Athens has as the leader of this empire, is that you keep making horrible decisions and the gods keep bailing you out. That is, you keep getting out of horrible problems you cause yourself by the skin of your teeth, just by luck. Or, divine favor. Good. Yeah. Good, yeah. Hatan. So the next, how about just one line? Somebody do that one line for us. Karition.
Okay. Hos the kai tuto xunoise radios didaxomen.
Good.
That it will be beneficial to this if we will teach easily or maybe
Good.
even clearly.
Good. Good. Where's your if?
Is the os?
You translated that
There's
as
an if there?
no. So my point is the if's not there. So you can just say we will teach easily. And
That it is beneficial. That this is beneficial.
what's the tense of beneficial?
It will be beneficial.
Good. It's future. We will teach easily. And what'd you do with tuto?
I thought that was like it will be beneficial in this way, maybe.
It's like a verbal accusative of respect. Yeah, that could work. Here is probably not. So host can be that, but Luciane, what else can host be?
Oh, I was taking it sort of more as a purpose, so that this thing also will turn out well, i.e. the electing of Cleon will teach you how to make that be okay.
Okay. That's a good explanation, but there's a simpler one. That's a more difficult explanation. What? So host can mean that. What else can host mean? Did anybody get anything else for host? As, it can mean as. Host can mean a host of things. It can mean that.
So much.
As.
Thus.
If it's accented, it can mean thus.
Okay.
But here's not accented.
It's host with future, something specific.
No, that's
Or is
hopos.
that with host and future participle?
Host with future participle. Host with future participle. Host just by
To what degree? How much?
how much, and simply how. And simply how. And that's just one of the things, maybe it should have been a vocabulary item, because host means so many things, you always got to go through. But here we have, if you have didaxomen, like if you have something like we will teach, or we will show, or we will say, and then you see host, you can go to your typical how. So it's we will easily show you how, and then just take tuto as the subject of sunoise, how this will be beneficial. Or how it will be beneficial. I guess you could take it as an accusative of respect too. And then note also your kai is kai tuto. So we will even this too will be beneficial. So what is this?
Your stupidity in electing Cleon.
Right. So exactly. So this is, so when you were electing Cleon, we did all this, and we tried to stop you. And the sun tried to stop you too. But nevertheless, you elected him. For, they say, Athenians keep making bad decisions and keep getting bailed out by the gods. So there's the idea. The gods bail you out. And so in the end, your bad decisions benefit you. And so now, all that explains the kai. And now we will show you easily how this too will benefit you. We will show you how to get yourself out of this mess because you elected Cleon. So even that kai has a lot of force right there. Hoste kai tuto xunoise radios didaxomen. And then, go ahead, Karition.
I'm sorry. Could it also be a little sarcastic?
Yeah, I think the whole passage is dripping. Yeah, there's a lot of irony and sarcasm in a lot of this. So what about the next four? Who wants the next four lines? Teofile.
In Cleona, tonaron doron delontes caiclopes. Eta bimoseten tuto toxulo ton arcena. Autis is tarcaion humi, eti kakse martide. Epito peltion to pragma te pole su noisite.
Good.
So ein. Is ein eon?
Right. Ein is eon.
So when when having elected Cleon the goal should
No, so yeah, you have helontes, but remember helontes there is active, and it can it only means elect when it's in the middle.
oh
So remember what it means. Remember, there's a special meaning for it in the active.
Convict.
yeah, is it like take up?
Take up, and then as Megacles said, convict.
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 I don't remember that.
I believe I put it in the handout. So
Probably, yeah.
Be sure to read the. I'm speaking to everybody. Be sure to read those handouts.
Yeah, I just don't remember it. I didn't
Okay.
remember it. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
wasn't in this handout though. That might have been in the one a
This-
while back, was it?
Maybe.
Yeah, it was. It's on the back.
Yeah, it was in this one.
Oh, that's right. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So what? And that note was it means convict in a judicial sense. It means convict, and when it does mean convict, it takes the genitive of the charge. Genitive of the
Okay.
charge. So let me just pass this on to
Alright.
Megacles.
So it's-
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead, Teofile.
Okay. So it's having convicted Cleon the goal of bribery and of theft.
Exactly.
Then you will lock up his neck in the stocks.
Right. So good. So he said, if having convicted Cleon of bribery and theft, you next lock his neck up in the stocks. Good. Keep on.
I'm gonna go to A. So like if you like make a mistake in something,
Yeah.
again according to like the old ways
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
for yourselves, and then then it will be better, or it'll benefit the city, the thing
Yeah.
turn to the better.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little jumbled.
No, but I got the sense. You have topragma is often like Latin race, like the affair, the whole matter. You are electing Cleon. Exactly. So the whole
Okay, so it's like the whole matter will benefit the city.
right,
Okay, for the
right,
better.
right. So the whole matter. So if you having convicted Cleon of bribery and theft, then lock his neck up in the stocks, the whole matter will turn out for the better for the city. Again, altus, just as in olden times. And here it's the best. On second thought, maybe this should have been a vocab item too, but I can just go ahead and explain it now. A kai. Be on the lookout for a kai, because this actually is best translated. It's better to consider this just its own conjunction. And it can hide, because you can have a, and then here you have t comes in between. And then you have chi, and then chi is elided into the next, or chi suffers crassus with the next word. And so you don't really see it. But for all intents and purposes, it's another conjunction, and it can be translated although. Now you can also say even if, and that'll convey the sentence too. So it's not like you have to go to your dictionary and look up a kai. You really can't. You can just translate the words you see, a kai. But it's and so that's the sense. And so if you lock his neck up in the stocks, the matter, even if or although you made a mistake, the matter will turn out for the better, again, just as in olden times.
The himine there, is that also going with Sunoisipai? So it's for the city and for you?
I think so. I think they're synonymous. So for you, the city. As Pericles famously said one time, and Sophocles. So a lot of people said in Athens, Hepolis, the city is not the walls and the buildings. Hepolis ukestin, ta teike, kai ta oikodomemata. Hepolis estin hoiandres. The city is the people, the men in it. That was a big truism for Greek democracy. Good. Moving on then. Now we get to the lyric poem. And so now we can translate this together. So I'll just read some of the Greek. I'll read the first 3 lines. Amphimoi, aute, foi banax, delia kun tian ekon, hupsikera ta petran. We'll stop there. Anybody want to take those 3? Antigone.
Is he saying again, for my sake, King Phoebus?
Yeah.
And then of Delion having
of Delos. Of Delos, I'm sorry.
Delos, that's it.
Yeah.
Having English kun.
The Cynthus. The hill on Delos is called Cynthus, and so its adjective is Kuntios. So the Cynthian.
Oh, okay. The Cynthian high-peaked rock.
Exactly. Good. Again, for me, be sort of amphi is sort of like be present, be in my midst, right? Be in my midst for me, Phoebus, Lord Phoebus of Delos, having, and here having is sort of like occupying or ruling. Having as your special area on earth. The Cynthian high-peaked rock. Good. And this is what happens in these lyric poems when a god is addressed. You just get adjective after adjective after adjective. And then it turns. Yeah.
The amphi, it sounds like you're taking the preposition almost as an imperative. So literally this means with me, right? But you're
with
saying
me.
It's more like be with me.
Yeah, there's some simple verb is omitted, like be, isti, or come, something like that. Sort of like saying in a prayer, like emphatically, oh, in my midst, Phoebus Anax. Good, and then he continues. Hei tefesu makai rapankruson oikon in ho korai seludon megalos sebusin kerition.
Okay, so in which you have or occupy, I guess, this blessed golden home of Ephesus, in which the maidens worship greatly.
Yep.
Of Ludon. I wasn't really sure about the proper noun there.
Of the Lydians.
Sorry, what?
The maidens of the Lydians.
Oh, the maidens of the Olympians worship you
Right.
greatly.
Right. Exactly. And here, that relative clause is a little tricky. So what you probably have here is your antecedent has been attracted into your relative pronoun, into your relative clause. So you have Makai,
On which the mountain?
or no, you have Makaira down there. Makaira he. So first he says Phoebus Onyx, and then he moves on to another goddess, and blessed one, Makaira, and blessed one who. That makes sense? And you who, blessed one, have the all golden house of Ephesus. What's this all, and who is this goddess?
Artemis.
And what's the all blessed house? The all golden house.
The temple at Ephesus.
Yeah. It's the same place that Paul has a run-in with in Acts. So even 500 years earlier, the temple of Artemis was a wonder of the ancient world, and he invokes it. He invokes Artemis of Ephesus here. And so, yeah, when Paul comes up against it, he's coming up against centuries of tradition. It's not just, he's... It's not just, they're polytheistic people, and so they really like this temple in Artemis. This has been a holy site for at least 7 centuries. And here Paul is ruining its economy. Good. And then he goes on. Hey, tepikurios hei metera teos, aigiros hei niokos poliukos atana. Luciane.
Again, the hey, I'm not sure exactly what the relative
You're
is to which, but it's our god or goddess.
yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah, exactly. So just it's easier to understand a you in front of it, and you who.
So say that again, my screen froze.
It's easier to do the relative if you just supply an antecedent. So say something like you who.
Oh, okay. So you who, our native. Here it's teos, but it would be goddess, right? 'Cause it's
Right.
talking about Athena.
Exactly. And you have hemetera. So that's feminine.
Yeah. Our goddess, the protector of the, is it Aegis? Is that how you pronounce it?
The Aegis.
The Aegis.
Oh, sorry, I meant to type in English.
Athena, or city protecting Athena.
Exactly, the city protecting Athena. And because this is lyric poetry, and the alpha sounded more august and solemn than the eta, it's not Athene, it's Atana. And they'll do it. They'll switch it on you just like that. Good. And then lastly, Parnasian tos katekon petran sum peukais selage bakais delphisin in prepon komastes Dionysos. Daniele.
And you, Dionysus,
Good.
The reveler, holding fast the Parnassian rock, shines being. Wait, no. Yeah, shine being conspicuous, with Bacchantian torches in Delphi or something like that.
Yeah, with rather take Bacchus with Delphician, so you have with torches
Oh, with torches in
among
Delphi.
Delphian Bacchae.
That guy. Okay.
Among Delphian Bacchae. And the Bacchae were his female followers who
So like standing out
among them.
Standing out among them.
Right.
Or whatever that is.
Exactly. So just think of Euripides' Bacchae, and when Dionysus comes to town and people report in the countryside, I saw this god, and all these crazy women are following him about. But he stood out. He shines out among them. And now notice you have selage, you don't have selage. You have selage, not selage. So it can't be Dionysus shine. Is Dionysus somehow shines? And so to correct that, you just have one word to do it with, hos. And so I like the way you begin. And you, Dionysus, who shine, good. Who having the Parnassian rock illuminates it with torches.
Illuminates it. Oh, okay.
Illuminates it, yeah. So it's transitive. The selago is transitive. Illuminates it with torches, standing out among his Bacchanalian Delphian followers. And so we can imagine somehow the chorus does some dance that is really entertaining, and everyone in the theater is watching it and saying, oh, that's pretty, that's entertaining. It's this choral interlude, and now the attention goes back up to the speaker, who's probably on the stage, and he continues the parabasis. Good, so you get this whole feel of actually what Attic comedy and even Attic drama is like. It's this alternation between spoken lines, choral interludes, spoken line, choral interludes. Good. And let's take 3 more lines. Maybe we can get to the end here. Megacles.
Isolene sum tucus humin pestilent frasae, protamen caerben, atelaisi kai pois sumaquis.
I heard humin for the second line. Hamin. It's interesting. The humin, hamin, a confusion is everywhere in the New Testament. And so it's interesting that even when we read, and I do it too, even when we read, as we read, we can just switch them and keep going. So you can imagine a scribe copying down the New Testament, and Paul is throwing out all these humins and hamins and humins and hamins, and he gets it, does he get it wrong? Or the 2 versions, somebody's copying it down? But that's neither here nor there. They're just so very close that even copyists get it wrong, and when we read, we can subconsciously switch them. Good. Go ahead, translate.
At the very time when we were preparing to come here to Athens.
Good.
Let's see. The sun, the moon.
Good.
Sort of when it had met us, sent us to first say hello, first send greetings to the Athenians and to their allies.
Good. Excellent. Very well done. When, or
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the sun to kusa, right? Going with Isolene.
Exactly. You have a legion of the alpha.
Aorist participle.
Okay. It's a good trade. You translated it well too. So when the moon, having met us, or the moon when she had met us, instructed us to say hello to you, Athens and the allies. Now it's interesting because a lot of official Athenian reports and decrees would address the Athenians and the allies. And so when the moon says, say hello to the Athenians and the allies, the moon is invoking Athens as an empire. So just keep that in mind. It's not just saying hello Athenians, it's saying hello Athenians and your allies, because this is the way the Athenians referred to their empire. They never called it an empire until, well, if we believe, according to Thucydides, a little later, they just were outright with it. But they always formally and tactfully said the Athenians and her allies. The Athenians and her allies. And so when the moon is saying hello, it's saying hello Athenian empire. And so we want to keep in mind why are they discussing the Athenian empire? But, good. Just let me back up and ask, what tense is pareskewazmeta? Luciane?
Is it either perfect or pluperfect?
Exactly. It's either perfect or pluperfect.
Is it perfect?
It is probably pluperfect. Because they're telling the story, and so literally, often pluperfects, yeah, so when we had been prepared to come here. So what that basically means is when we were prepared. Not when we were preparing, but when we had been prepared. And so when we were prepared, all set to come here, the moon said.
And the aphormastai there, is that just come? Or is there more of a sense to it than that?
I guess it's come
I was
in
a bit confused on that definition.
Yeah.
I think it's come in the way clouds come. When we were prepared to swoosh here, when we were prepared to, however you say it, remember this is comedy, and so he's going to take every opportunity. If he says come, he says, no, I can do better than that. How does the cloud come? Oh yeah, when we were prepared to swoop down here, is the idea. The moon stopped us and said, tell the Athenians and their empire, hello. And then two more lines, good, Karition.
Sorry, I just had a quick question. I thought it's interesting that they address the moon as a person.
Yeah.
Because we've seen the moon several times in this passage.
Yeah. Back on the preceding page on line 584, it wasn't.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't know if there was any particular special meaning with that.
Just that your editor feels, and I see his reasoning, the editor of this text is not the one who did this commentary. Your editor felt that in all the other instances, it's the heavenly body being talked about, but here it's now personified into the divinity representing the moon. And right, I mean, you can see why, right? She stops us, she meets us and says, tell them hello. Good. And then two more lines, or line and a half, right? 611? Yeah, right on track. Everything's going well. Who wants to take us home? Luciane.
Eite tumainen efaske, de nagar pepontenai ophelus humas hapantas u logos al emphanos.
Kalos anegnos.
So this seems to be still talking about the moon. Then it said that it was angry.
Right, said that it was angry.
Okay.
Yeah, and you do have note the word choice there. Pos allos legomen Hellenisti, I am angry.
Orgasdomai?
Orgisdomai. There's your sort of standard word. Here you have tumaino. And that means, and this is referring to your tumos. And so that Homeric warrior, whenever his spirit is moved within him, that's always his tumos. It's always his tumos. And so now the moon is saying, I'm wrathful.
Like I'm getting heated.
Yeah, I'm worked up at you all. So I just wanted to point that word choice out there. That this is sort of like, and again, it's comedy, so it's probably mock high blown language. Like, I'm really wrathful with you all. Good. And then the rest.
And I think take the efaske again with the rest of this line.
Exactly.
For it, it says, or it claims to have suffered terrible things, helping you all not with words, but openly, obviously.
Openly, obviously. Uncontrovertibly. I mean, everyone... Incontrovertibly, sorry. Exactly. And that's a good note. Greek loves to do that. Greek, if it begins indirect speech in any way, if it began it with accusative infinitive, if it began with hoti, if it began with the participle, it can put a period right there, that sentence, and then continue with accusative infinitive at any time. Sometimes it's even just implied, and it'll come in with accusative infinitive. Daniele, you have a question?
Yeah. So, how would you know that it continues on? Is it just the fact that there are still accusative infinitives happening?
Right.
Like, what would tip you off to that?
Well, you said you already have a verb of speaking, so the Greek is expecting you to remember that. Efaske, de na gar, and then that gar is the gar is a tight particle. It really relates, gives the reason for the previous statement. For,
right.
And then you see an infinitive, and you don't know how that infinitive is working. Like, it's not articular because there's no article there. And then here's the biggest thing: I've been calling an accusative. Sorry, from my Latin days. I've been calling accusative infinitive, but remember, it can also be a nominative infinitive if the subject of the infinitive refers back to the subject of the verb of speaking. And so here you see an infinitive that has a nominative subject. Ophelusai.
So that's a nominative.
Oh, sorry.
Referring back to the clubs.
Back to, I'm sorry,
Selene.
Fulusa, Selene. The clouds keeps popping back to my head.
Hey, Luke, can you translate from Deina to emphanos again?
Yeah.
Yeah. So taking the FSK from the previous line for it claimed. Is that present? Is FSK present?
No.
No, it's not, is it? Okay. For it claimed to have suffered terrible things, helping you all, not with words, but openly, incontrovertibly.
Openly, yeah. And then that participle, the force of the participle is probably...
While.
It can be temporal, while, yeah. You can just leave it at that. You could push it and say concessive, for she claims to have suffered terrible things, despite helping you, although helping you. You can. That's just that's just the subjective translator's call. Karition, you have a question?
Sorry, just going back to the nominative infinitive question.
Yeah.
Would an editor have put in the periods and commas and things like that?
Yeah, the Greeks. The Greeks typically did not have punctuation, especially in the 5th century. Most of the texts would have been all in caps, with little or no spaces and no punctuation. So that line would go. And we have many New Testament manuscripts that come to us in this way. Eita tumaine nefaske. And then every now and then they would put a little, some texts would put a little, start putting a little dash every now and then, but not always, very irregular. Maybe a dash here, maybe not, but they just thought it was important. But even what I've written to you, they didn't. No one really had invented punctuation yet. This was just the way they wrote. And so, you can imagine the reading experience it's kind of interesting. The reading experience is that you really have to get to a point and listen to yourself reading. And this is why in antiquity, we do know that silent reading was really weird. That was unusual. People read to themselves out loud. And I think this is a factor in it because you don't really know what is being said until you hear it. So they would say, Hey, Nike mes de reformastai pareskevas meta. Oh, okay. Hey, Selenik sunto kuse. And they would go that way. Because if you remember in Augustine's Confessions, and so this is late 4th century, second half of the 4th century A.D., 800 years after this text. I mean, 800 years. I mean, antiquity is just so much of it. Augustine walks in on Ambrose reading silently and remarks in his Confessions how surprised he was. Says, oh, Ambrose read to himself silently. So even then, that was unusual enough, even in the 4th century A.D., for Augustine to say, Ambrose, he was in the habit of reading to himself quietly. That's the way we read all the time. But again, if you have a manuscript with no punctuation, you might want to read out loud. Good. Well, 11:49. Perfect timing. I can leave y'all. Any more questions?
Just a quick one.
Sure.
For a meaning. In logos, or ud logos, does that just mean like not nominally, but like actually?
Exactly. Exactly. And Greek has a lot of, sorry, I'm on caps too. Greek is basically a version. Greek has the logo ergo antithesis, where in speech, indeed. And they contrast them a lot. And this is just another version of it. It's just not with logos, but emphanos. It's kind of a version of that.
Like to onti, kind of.
To onti. To onti. Good. Good translation. So we'll continue translating into English the parabasis. So I'll give you some more to translate for Thursday. And then what I aim to do is when we get back to the speaking parts between Socrates and Strepsiades, when things get much less convoluted. Have you noticed that the parabasis is pretty convoluted Greek? Yeah. Okay. When we sort of get out of this thicket, we can get back to the speaking parts. We'll go back to paraphrasing the text in Greek. I think that should work very well in Zoom. But for right now, I'll leave you with that, and just be on the lookout for an email in which I assign more lines and give you a handout where, if there are any important notes to make, I'll make them. So be sure to read those closely. Daniele, you have a question?
Would you mind? Could you stay on after everyone leaves? I still have a question about the last sentence. I don't get it. I don't want to take everybody's time. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'll sign off. Look, expect the email. Eros te.
Thanks, Dr. Tipton.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you